It's surprising for some people to learn that our school systems, not just in the United States, but throughout most of the world, were not built to optimize learning. They were built to standardize the way we teach, test, and sort students. Modeled after factories, schools batch students into classrooms by age, teach them, and then ship students out to the next grade, regardless if they've mastered the set of concepts that were taught in class. The thinking behind this was that if students were grouped by grade level and then batched in classrooms, teachers could teach the same subjects in the same way and at the same pace. It was a factory-like standardized process. With teaching done this way, schools could enroll a far greater number of students. Over the last century, this efficient system allowed many countries to offer a universal education. As countries moved from agricultural economies to industrial ones, it was reasonably effective. In the United States, the factory model schools prepared students for an economy of the early 20th century, and this approach helped lift millions into the middle class. It's interesting to note that in 1900, the majority of students ended up taking industrial jobs and did not need a deep education. Only 17% of all jobs at the time required knowledge workers. The fact is that many students of the early 20th century dropped out of high school, did not attend or complete college, or did not learn much academically, and this did not cripple them economically. When these students left school for the workforce, it didn't significantly hurt the American economy. But that has changed significantly. As countries are moving into a global economy in which over 60% of jobs require knowledge workers, we expect schools to educate and prepare all students for this new economic reality. Unfortunately, this factory-like approach to education leaves too many students behind, and not just the ones from disadvantaged backgrounds. Simply put, standardizing education won't get our students, schools, and society to the next level. We need a system that is built for learning, not just for rote memorization. As educators and parents know, just because two children are the same age doesn't mean that they learn in the same way and at the same pace. Each child has different learning needs at different times. Some students quickly learn new material, while other students struggle to grasp its meaning. These differences often depend upon the subject or concept that the student is being introduced to. Nearly all of us have had an experience of being stuck in a class in which no matter how many times the teacher explained a concept, we just couldn't get it. The class whisked along, and we fell further behind while frustration mounted. Many of us have also experienced the reverse. Sometimes we understood things before our classmates did. We grew bored when the class would repeatedly drill a concept over and over. We were ready to move on. A stunning number of students drop out of school, not because they're struggling, but because they are bored. School should not be a place where our students are either frustrated or bored. It should be a place where they are engaged and excited to learn. In order to optimize learning for every student, we need to personalize learning for each student's distinct learning needs. We cannot persist with an education that works for just some students. Although there are many definitions for what personalized learning is, in my work in education over the past decade, I've come to think of it as a verb, meaning personalized learning is the act of tailoring learning to an individual student's particular needs. The power of personalized learning, understood in this way, is intuitive. When students receive one-on-one help from a tutor instead of mass group instruction, the results are generally far superior. This makes sense, given that tutors can do everything from adjusting their pace to rephrasing an explanation or providing a new example or approach in order to make a topic come to life for a student. Also, tutors usually persist until their students finally comprehend the material, whereas in the traditional class setting, there's often a starting and a stopping point based on time, not on mastery. A personalized approach also implies that students can receive a one-on-one learning experience when they need it, but also can partake in group projects and activities when that would be best for their learning. The challenge, though, is twofold. First, because we simply cannot afford a tutor for every child, personalized learning has been historically out of reach. Second, because our education system is built to standardize the way we teach and test, tailoring the lesson to each child is nearly impossible for a single teacher in a typical classroom with 20 to 35 students. With a system that mandates the amount of time students spend in class but does not expect each child to master the content, most students are forced to move forward on to the next concept when the whole class moves on, not when they are ready. This creates learning gaps that will haunt them later in their schooling. With the advent of online learning, though, we now have a tool that is a game changer. Implementing online learning in a blended setting can allow educators to transform education for all students. Failing to take advantage of this moment in time would be a huge missed opportunity. As the world has changed, so too have our hopes for our children. If all students are to succeed and find and fulfill their potential, our schools must change too. Personalized learning is critical. In the best-selling book Blended, Michael Horn and Heather Staker outline how you can personalize learning for your students by creating a blended learning environment. Click here to learn more.